Welcome back, YouTubers. I'm Protomario, and today we're reviewing Pokemon Black and White 2, the sequels to Pokemon Black and White, the first of the Pokemon series to get a number and not a stone type. This game was developed by Game Freak and published by Nintendo, the Pokemon Company. Distributed exclusively for Nintendo DS. All those out there who don't like the DS, suck it. You're not going to play this unless you have an emulator and a ROM of it. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Pokemon Black and White version 2 are sequels, as I stated, for the original Black and White. Whether or not you enjoyed Black and White, it seems that these are the sequels you're getting in the new installments in the Pokemon game for a while. So let's get to the nitty-gritty. What are the changes, and is it worth your money? Basically, this game is set 2 years after the events of Pokemon Black and White, and much like the beginning, the events take place in new locations on the western side of the Unova region, or Unova, or however you say that. The new locations feature several Pokemon that were never available in the original Black and White, featuring a total of 300 unique Pokemon creatures available at the start of the game, such as Mareep, Psyduck, and Relo. The new game mechanics introduced in Pokemon Black and White are Pokemon Star Studios, where the characters early on in the game are able to star in a feature film involving Pokemon and other actors, which make them to a certain sequence of events to star in a movie. There is also one other new mechanic called the Pokemon World Tournament that allows the players to battle powerful trainers from previous games in the series, such as gym leaders like Brock, Misty, Volkner, and Giovanni, to the champions Cynthia, Steven, and Lance. There are also 2 new downloadable games, but these are only for the Nintendo 3DS, so if you're picking up Black and White and you only have a DS, you might want to consider just picking up the original Black and White instead of Black and White 2. So for the 3DS, there's Pokemon Dream Radar, and this allows the Pokemon AR Searcher, introduces the character Professor Barnett, as well as alternate forms of Pokemon, such as Thundurus and Tyrannus and Landorus, which can be transferred to Pokemon Black and 2 after being captured on the AR Searcher, which is really, really cool, but once again, I'm not really sure if that's, enough to purchase this game. So the plot of this game is pretty simple. The player begins their Pokemon journey, as always, and they get their Pokemon from a person known as Bianca. And unfortunately, this game kind of shoves people that you may have grown to hate in the original game in your face once more, i.e. Bianca. This person is supposed to be the professor's aide and is extremely annoying. Also, the player meets their rivals and another person known as Sharon, which is the gym leader, and this is how the game kind of gets you settled in with the tutorial mode. As I was saying, the plot features pretty much the antagonists, Team Plasma, who first tried to take over the world and release all the Pokemon with their star champion N and Geist in the original Pokemon Black and White. And this story continues that 2 years later when the team plans to take over the world and steal other Pokemons from the players once more. So pretty much this is basically a rehash of the Black and White with a lot of additions. There's also legendary Pokemon Kyrium, and Giant Chasm, blah blah blah, World Domination, you get the idea. Anyways, basically you're going to be doing the same thing. You're going to be defeating the antagonists, Team Plasma, while trying to get your badges and get to the Poke League. After the game, the player is able to challenge N, who has taken up residence in his former castle, where upon defeat of his legendary Pokemon, it turns into an object once held its essence and gives it to the player. The player can then bring the item to the part of Unova, and transfer back into the Pokemon and capture it. And then later capture the other Kyurem, which is pretty cool. So without doing any spoiler words here, it's basically, again, the rehashing of Pokemon Black and White. So what do I think of Pokemon Black and White 2? In the beginning, it gets very tedious and very annoying because you get rehashed everything, right down to the basics on how to capture Pokemon. In the beginning, you're told basically everything. But there's another thing I absolutely cannot stand about this game. I'll be walking along and all of a sudden, my character stops and I realize, oh good, another part where there's an NPC that's going to run up to me and tell me something really stupid. Usually it's Bianca, but there have been several times where it's been something much more retarded. For example, one time I was just wanting to progress the story, get to a new area and capture Pokemon, but instead I was taken by a movie publisher and had to star in a movie and do the tutorial for the movie publications, even though I have absolutely no interest in doing that. Me personally, all these side additions, like the movie theater and the ARs and stuff like that, are really cool and really nice and add a depth to it, but it also adds a distraction factor that really gets annoying to me. Now, one thing people are really interested in, and I must say is really, really cool, is the fusion factor where you can fuse the two legendary Pokemon together. Without giving it away, I'm going to tell you, it's really freaking cool. But you'll have to play the game and see that for yourself. Take it from me, you'll really enjoy this factor, or you'll either think it's a ripoff of Digimon. And yes, please don't crucify me, but they did do that first. Overall, I really enjoyed Pokemon Black and White 2. Some of the subtle additions are more prominent than the in-your-face additions like Pokemon Star Studios. For example, there's the Unova link that you're able to use with Pokemon Black and White with Pokemon Black and White 2. If you happen to have two DSs, you can do the DS download and play, and you can get memory shards and pieces of the original Pokemon Black and White, what occurred there, and you'll be able to see them through certain people and events through the story that you'll find that would normally not be in the game alone by itself. Which, again, you might consider to be really crappy because that might be DRM, but whatever. This isn't a disc, and I'm just rambling now. The fact that you're also able to catch N's old Pokemon when he released them is a really cool factor. I ran into a crocodile that N used to have, and I was able to catch it, and its O2 is actually N. So that was a really awesome feature too. It allows for a little bit of backstory that integrates very well with Pokemon Black and White 2. One thing that was really tedious and annoying though was being able to transfer over Pokemon from Heart Gold and Soul Silver. In order to do this, I'm assuming that you'll have to beat Pokemon Black and White 2 to do the transfer option, but if you can't do that or you want to do it earlier in the game, you're going to have to go through Pokemon Black and White, and I hope you beat that because you do have to beat Pokemon Black and White to transfer them over from there, which then you transfer them over from Black and White from your Heart Gold, Soul Silver, or whatever else to Black and White, and then transfer them over again to Pokemon Black and White 2. Tedious and overall time consuming. My impressions of Pokemon Black and White 2, enjoyable game, great for Pokemon veterans, but maybe a little bit too much. I'm Protomario and I'm signing out, and I give Pokemon Black and White 2 an A-. Great game to pick up for any Pokemon enthusiast.